sound of a car driving on a lonely, rain-slicked highway at night. The rhythmic hum of the engine and the gentle swish of wipers create a hypnotic backdrop. A distant, mournful foghorn sounds, adding to the desolate atmosphere. The rain intensifies slightly, then settles into a steady, soft drumming against the windshield. The occasional flash of lightning illuminates the road ahead, revealing nothing but endless asphalt and dense, whispering trees. Our journey into the unsettling begins on a stretch of road that exists in countless forms across the globe, the lonely highway, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the darkness, where the only companions are the shadows and the occasional glint of distant headlights. It is here, in the liminal space between destinations, that the legend of the Vanishing Hitchhiker truly takes hold, a tale that has woven itself into the very fabric of nocturnal travel, whispered by truckers, late-night commuters, and anyone who has ever found themselves alone on a deserted road. Imagine, if you will, a night like any other. Perhaps you're a long-haul trucker, pushing through the final hours of a shift, the coffee long since gone cold. The only company the static on the radio and the rhythmic thrum of your diesel engine. Or maybe you're a weary traveler, returning home from a late meeting. The glow of your dashboard lights the only comfort against the encroaching darkness. The radio a low murmur against the drone of the tires. The hour is late, perhaps the witching hour, when the veil between worlds is said to be thinnest. The weather is turning, a cold front moving in, and the world outside your vehicle is a canvas of inky black, punctuated only by the occasional flash of lightning that briefly illuminates the skeletal branches of trees, reaching like gnarled fingers towards the bruised sky. Then a flicker in your peripheral vision. A figure by the side of the road. It's almost imperceptible at first, a trick of the light, a shadow playing games with your tired eyes. But as you draw closer, the form solidifies. A young woman, dressed in white, perhaps a light dress or a thin, almost translucent coat, utterly inadequate for the chill that has begun to seep into the air. Her hair, dark and wet, clings to her face, obscuring her features, and her posture suggests a profound weariness, a silent plea for assistance that tugs at something deep within your conscience. She doesn't T-wave frantically or shout for help. She simply stands there, a solitary, almost ethereal silhouette against the storm-swept landscape. Your conscience, or perhaps a lingering sense of chivalry, compels you to slow down. You pull over, the gravel crunching beneath your tires, a sound that seems unnaturally loud in the oppressive silence. You roll down the passenger window, and the cold, damp air rushes in, carrying with it the scent of wet earth, distant pine, and something else, something faint, almost floral like wilting lilies. She approaches, her movements almost ethereal, gliding rather than walking, and her eyes, even in the dim glow of your headlights, seem to hold an ancient sorrow, a depth of grief that transcends her youthful appearance. She speaks, her voice a soft murmur, barely audible above the rain and the idling engine. She gives you an address, a specific house number on a street in a town some miles ahead. No explanation for her presence, no small talk, no desperate plea, just the destination. You nod, a silent agreement passing between you, and she slips into the passenger seat. The door clicks shut, a mundane sound that belies the strangeness of the encounter, a sound that echoes in the sudden, profound silence that descends upon the car. As you resume your journey, the silence in the car is profound, almost suffocating. You might offer her your jacket or a blanket from the back seat, noticing the faint shiver that runs through her slender frame. She accepts with a faint, almost imperceptible nod, pulling the fabric tightly around her, her hands appearing almost translucent in the dim light. You try to initiate conversation, perhaps asking about her journey, or if she's all right or why she was out in such weather. Her responses are minimal, sometimes just a sigh that seems to carry the weight of centuries, or a soft hum that sounds more like a lament than an answer. Her gaze is fixed straight ahead, out into the rain-streaked darkness, as if searching for something only she can see, something that remains hidden from your mortal eyes. The air in the car grows strangely cold, despite the heater blasting, and that faint, almost floral scent, like wilting lilies, seems to intensify, clinging to the upholstery, a ghostly perfume in the enclosed space. Time passes, marked only by the sweep of the wipers and the changing landscape outside. The miles melt away, each one bringing you closer to the destination and further into the heart of the mystery. The town she mentioned begins to appear on the horizon, a cluster of distant, hazy lights piercing the gloom, shimmering through the rain. You glance over, intending to confirm the address, to ask if she has any specific instructions, perhaps to offer a word of comfort. But as your eyes turn to the passenger seat, your breath catches in your throat, a sudden, icy knot forming in your stomach. The seat is empty. The jacket or blanket you offered is still there, neatly folded, as if it had never been disturbed, as if it had simply settled there on its own. The faint scent of lilies still lingers, a ghostly perfume in the enclosed space, a haunting reminder of a presence that was, and now is not. But she is gone, vanished, without a sound, without a trace, as if she were never there at all, a figment of your rain-addled imagination. A wave of confusion, then a cold, creeping dread washes over you. You slam on the brakes, the car skidding slightly on the wet asphalt, the sudden jolt sending a shiver down your spine. You look in the rearview mirror, then over your shoulder, then into the back seat, as if she might have simply slipped into the shadows or somehow contorted herself out of sight. Nothing, just the empty, silent interior of your car, the rain still drumming against the roof. The only sound the frantic pounding of your own heart against your ribs, a frantic drum against your ribs. You try to rationalize it. Did she open the door and jump out? Impossible. You would have heard it, felt the sudden rush of wind, seen her disappear into the darkness. Did she somehow slip away while you were focused on the road, a master of stealth, a phantom in the night? The thought is absurd, yet the evidence of her absence is undeniable. A gaping void where a moment ago there was a living, breathing person. Driven by an inexplicable compulsion, or perhaps a desperate need for an explanation, a need to anchor yourself back to reality, you continue to the address she provided. It's an old house, perhaps a little run down, with a single porch light casting a weak, flickering glow on the overgrown bushes and the peeling paint of the front door. You approach the door, your hand trembling slightly as you raise it to knock, the cold metal of the knocker sending another shiver through you. An elderly couple answers, their faces etched with the deep lines of time and sorrow, their eyes holding a weariness that seems to stretch back through decades. You stammer out your story, describing the young woman, the ride, the inexplicable disappearance, the chilling scent of lilies. As you speak, a profound sadness washes over their faces, a familiar grief that seems to settle heavily in the air, a sorrow that you now realize is a permanent resident in their home. They invite you in, their voices hushed, their movements slow and deliberate. They tell you about their daughter, a vibrant, beautiful girl, who died tragically years ago, often on that very stretch of road where you picked her up. A car accident, a sudden swerve, a life extinguished too soon, a future stolen in an instant. They show you a faded photograph, its edges softened by time and countless touches, and your blood runs cold. It's her. The same sorrowful eyes, the same delicate features, the same haunting beauty that you saw just moments ago. And then the final, chilling confirmation. They mention that sometimes on nights like this, when the rain falls and the air is cold, when the world seems to weep, they find a jacket or a blanket draped over her tombstone in the old cemetery just down the road. The very jacket or blanket you offered her, the one now neatly folded on your passenger seat. A silent, undeniable testament to an encounter that defies all logic, a bridge between the living and the dead that was momentarily, terrifyingly, crossed. In some versions, the driver, still reeling from the encounter, might drive to the cemetery themselves, drawn by an irresistible urge, a desperate need for a final, tangible piece of evidence. There, amidst the silent rows of headstones, under the weeping sky, they find it. The jacket or the blanket, draped over a weathered stone, bearing the name of the young woman they just picked up. The fabric is damp, as if it had been out in the rain, and the faint scent of wilting lilies is stronger here, mingling with the smell of damp earth and old stone. a scent that will forever be etched into their memory. It is a silent, undeniable testament to an encounter that defies all logic, a bridge between the living and the dead that was momentarily, terrifyingly, crossed, leaving an indelible mark on the soul of the living. This legend, in its myriad forms, is more than just a ghost story. It is a profound meditation on loss, on the lingering presence of the departed, and on the thin veil that separates our world from theirs. It preys on our empathy, our desire to help, and then twists that kindness into a chilling brush with the supernatural. It transforms the mundane act of driving into a potential encounter with the spectral, making every shadow seem a little deeper, every silence a little heavier. It reminds us that even in our modern, technologically advanced world, there are still mysteries that defy explanation and presences that refuse to be confined to the realm of the living. And sometimes, the most unsettling truths are found not in ancient texts, but in the modern whispers that haunt our concrete jungles and desolate highways, waiting for the next unsuspecting traveler to pick up a ghost. Sound of a car engine idling, a low, rhythmic thrum, the faint, almost imperceptible sound of distant city traffic. Suddenly, a sharp, metallic click, like a car door being quietly opened and closed, followed by a subtle shift in the car backslash's weight. A tense, low-frequency drone begins, slowly building in intensity, punctuated by the sound of a quick, shallow breath. The drone is occasionally broken by the distant, muffled sound of a police siren, growing closer then fading away, adding to the sense of unease. From the desolate stretches of highway, where spectral figures might materialize and vanish, we now turn our attention to a more insidious threat, one that invades the perceived sanctuary of our own vehicles. This is the chilling urban legend of the killer in the backseat, a tale that preys on our sense of security and the illusion of safety within our personal space, transforming the mundane act of driving into a potential death trap. Consider the scenario. It's late, perhaps well past midnight. The city lights have long since blurred into a distant glow in your rearview mirror, and the only thing on your mind is getting home. You've had a long day, a grueling shift, or perhaps a particularly draining social engagement. All you crave is the warmth of your bed, the comforting silence of your home, and the sweet oblivion of sleep. Your car, a familiar extension of your personal bubble, hums reassuringly around you, its interior a cocoon against the encroaching darkness. You pull into a gas station, a beacon of harsh, fluorescent light in the otherwise oppressive gloom. The artificial glow illuminates the pumps, casting long, distorted shadows that dance and writhe with every movement. As you begin to fill your tank, the nozzle cold and heavy in your hand, a subtle unease begins to prickle at the back of your neck. It's a feeling you can't quite place, a faint whisper of wrongness that makes the hairs on your arms stand on end. You glance up and catch the eye of the gas station attendant. He's staring at you, not with curiosity or the usual bored indifference, but with an unsettling intensity. His eyes are wide, almost frantic, and he's making strange, almost jerky hand gestures, a series of frantic motions that seem to be directed at you, yet are too subtle to be overtly alarming. You frown, a ripple of confusion passing through you. Is he trying to tell you something? Is he just odd? You dismiss it, attributing it to the late hour, or perhaps a cultural misunderstanding, a quirk of the night shift. You finish pumping gas, the digital display clicking over to the final amount. You pay inside, the transaction a blur, your mind still replaying the attendant's strange behavior. You return to your car, the unsettling feeling still lingering, a faint echo in your mind, a discordant note in the symphony of the night. You slide into the driver's seat, the familiar scent of gasoline and stale coffee filling the air. You buckle your seatbelt, the click a small, reassuring sound. You start the engine, the low thrum a comforting sound, a promise of home. As you pull out of the station, your eyes flick to the rearview mirror, and that's when you see it. The attendant, now outside, is waving his arms wildly, his face a mask of terror, his mouth open in a silent scream. He's shouting something, but the words are lost to the wind and the hum of your engine, swallowed by the vast indifference of the night. A sudden, Sharp jolt of adrenaline shoots through you. A cold, electric current that makes your muscles tense. Something is wrong. Very wrong. You instinctively hit the brakes, the car skidding slightly on the wet asphalt, the sudden deceleration throwing you forward against your seatbelt. You pull over to the side of the road, your heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. The attendant rushes to your car, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his eyes wide and bloodshot. His hand trembles as he points, not at you, but at your back seat. His voice, when it comes, is a hoarse whisper, laced with a terror that chills you to the bone, a sound that seems to emanate from the very depths of his being. "There was a man in your back seat," he gasps, his voice barely audible above the pounding in your ears. "He had a knife. I saw him duck down just as you looked in your mirror." The words hit you like a physical blow, a sudden, brutal impact that leaves you breathless. A man, in your back seat, with a knife. The blood drains from your face, leaving you cold and clammy, your skin prickling with 1,000 tiny needles. Every hair on your body stands on end, a primal response to an unseen threat. The comforting hum of your engine now sounds like a death knell, a low, ominous growl. You were driving for how long? Minutes? 10 minutes? With a killer just inches behind you, a silent predator lurking in the shadows of your own car, a breath away from your unsuspecting neck. The thought is so utterly horrifying, so profoundly violating, that it threatens to overwhelm you, to send you spiraling into a vortex of pure, unadulterated terror. In some chilling variations of this tale, the attendant's warning is even more subtle, more desperate. A silent plea for you to understand the danger you are in. Perhaps he deliberately spills gas on your windshield, forcing you to get out of the car, giving him a precious few seconds to discreetly check your back seat, to confirm his horrifying suspicion. Or maybe he, sound of dripping water in a dark, confined space, slowly morphing into a faint, echoing whisper that repeats a name, fades into a low, resonant hum. From the open road and the confines of our cars, we now turn to a legend that often begins in the intimate, yet strangely unsettling, space of a bathroom mirror. Bloody Mary. This is a ritualistic urban legend, typically performed by children or teenagers. Stand in front of a mirror in a darkened room, usually lit only by a single candle. Repeat Bloody Mary a certain number of times while spinning or closing one/s eyes. The fear is that upon opening one/s eyes, the spectral figure of Bloody Mary will appear in the mirror. Her manifestations vary: a disfigured face, dripping blood, or glowing red eyes. The consequences are equally terrifying: madness, disfigurement, or even death. This legend is potent due to its interactive nature, transforming a passive listening experience into a direct confrontation with the unknown. The mirror becomes a gateway for a malevolent entity, blurring the lines between reality and hallucination. It taps into the universal fear of the supernatural and serves as a cautionary tale about dabbling in the occult. The ambiguity of whether she truly appeared or if it was a trick of the mind adds to its power, making every glance in a darkened mirror a little more unsettling. Sound of crickets chirping, a gentle breeze rustling leaves, then a sudden, sharp metallic scraping sound, followed by a tense, low string note that holds. From the reflective surface of the mirror, we venture back to the isolated roads. But this time, the threat is not within the car, but lurking just outside. Our next legend is a classic cautionary tale, often told to teenagers parked in secluded lovers' lanes. The Hookman. The story typically begins with a young couple parked in a remote, wooded area. A news bulletin reports that a dangerous escaped convict, known for having a hook for a hand, has been sighted nearby. The girl, frightened, pleads with her boyfriend to leave. He dismisses her fears, but finally agrees to go. As they speed away, when they arrive at her house, she lets out a blood-curdling scream. Hanging from the passenger door handle, swinging gently, is a bloody hook. This legend is a potent blend of fear and adolescent anxiety. It preys on the vulnerability of young couples in isolated settings and serves as a warning against recklessness. The Hookman taps into the fear of the unknown assailant and the unsettling thought that danger can be so close it leaves a physical mark. It reminds us of the consequences of ignoring our instincts. Sound of a dog panting softly, then a low, rhythmic dripping sound, slowly building in intensity, then fading into a subtle, unsettling hum. From the terror outside the car, we now turn to a fear that invades the sanctity of our homes, preying on our trust in our most loyal companions. This is the chilling tale of the licked hand. The story typically features a young girl home alone, feeling nervous. Her only comfort is her beloved dog, sleeping under her bed. Whenever she feels scared, she reaches her hand down, and her dog responds with a reassuring lick. This brings her immense comfort. However, at some point in the night, she is awakened by a persistent dripping sound. She investigates, following the sound to the bathroom. There, she finds her dog hanging lifelessly from the shower rod, its throat slit. Scrawled on the mirror, in what appears to be blood, are the words, "Humans can lick too." This legend is a masterclass in psychological horror, turning a source of comfort into the ultimate betrayal. It plays on our deep emotional bond with pets and the idea that this trust can be so brutally violated. It also taps into the fear of being utterly vulnerable in one's own home, transforming a comforting presence into a monstrous imposter. Sound of a phone ringing, a classic, slightly old-fashioned ring. It rings several times, then stops. A low, static-filled hum begins, then fades into a tense, high-pitched whine. From the intimate terror of the home, we move to a legend that weaponizes the very technology meant to connect us, turning a lifeline into a conduit for dread. This is the chilling urban legend of the call is coming from inside the house. The story typically involves a babysitter, alone in a large, unfamiliar house late at night. The phone rings. She answers, and on the other end is a distorted, menacing voice, breathing heavily or uttering cryptic threats. Frightened, she hangs up. The calls continue, becoming more frequent and disturbing. The voice grows more aggressive, the threats more explicit. Terrified, she calls the police. They tell her to keep the caller on the line if he calls again, so they can trace the call. When the phone rings once more, she bravely answers, trying to keep the caller talking. After a tense few moments, the police dispatcher breaks in, their voice urgent and filled with dread. "Get out of the house!" they scream. The call is coming from inside the house. This legend is a masterpiece of suspense, building tension through escalating threats and a horrifying twist. It preys on the vulnerability of being alone in an unfamiliar place and the fear of invasion, of our safe spaces being compromised. The idea that the threat is not outside, but already within the very walls that are supposed to protect us, is profoundly unsettling. Sound of faint, distorted carnival music, then a child nervous giggle, which quickly turns into a whimper, fades into a low, unsettling drone. From the deceptive safety of a home, we now descend into the realm of childhood fears, where innocence can be twisted into terror. This is the chilling urban legend of the clown under the bed. The story typically involves a family checking into a hotel room. The children are excited by a large, life-sized clown doll sitting in a chair. The youngest child becomes increasingly uneasy, complaining that the clown is staring at them. The parents dismiss these fears as childish imagination. Finally, one parent calls the front desk to request the clown be removed. The desk clerk /S voice is filled with chilling urgency. "Ma /am, we don't have any clown dolls in our rooms. Get out of the room, now." We recalling the police. The horrifying realization dawns. The clown doll was not a hotel decoration, but an intruder disguised as a clown, hiding in their room. This legend exploits the fear of clowns and preys on the vulnerability of children and the trust parents place in seemingly safe environments. It taps into the fear of hidden dangers, of threats that blend seamlessly into the background, only to reveal their true, terrifying nature when it /S almost too late. Sound of dripping water, echoing in a vast, dark space. A low, reptilian hiss, then a splash, fades into a deep, resonant rumble. From the confines of a hotel room, We now descend into the dark, forgotten arteries beneath our cities, where a monstrous legend has taken root: the alligator in the sewers. This urban legend typically begins with a family returning from a warm climate with a small, adorable baby alligator as a souvenir. The novelty soon wears off, and the alligator, growing larger, becomes a nuisance. Rather than finding a proper home, they flush it down the toilet. But the story doesn't end there. The alligator, against all odds, survives the journey through the plumbing. It adapts to its new, dark, and damp environment, feeding on rats and garbage. Over the years, it grows to an enormous size, its skin turning pale from lack of sunlight, its eyes adapting to the perpetual gloom. It becomes a monstrous, unseen predator, lurking beneath the very streets we walk upon. Variations often include sewer workers encountering these massive, albino alligators, or even children falling into open manholes and becoming their prey. The fear is not just of the animal itself, but of the unknown, unseen world that exists beneath our feet, a hidden ecosystem where discarded pets can transform into terrifying, feral beasts. This legend taps into the fear of the consequences of our irresponsible actions and the idea that beneath the veneer of our organized cities lies a chaotic, untamed wilderness. The sewer system itself is a powerful, almost mythological setting, a dark, labyrinthine underworld where anything could potentially thrive. It transforms the mundane infrastructure of our cities into a potential hunting ground for unseen monsters, leaving a lingering sense of unease whenever we hear a gurgle from the drains or a rumble from beneath the street.